Hello to my crochet lover, or is it better to say knit lovers? My name is Dasha and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful sequins dress using the Rabinian knitting technique. This project is perfect if you're a complete beginner and want to try knitting for the first time. By repeating the same steps we are going to use for making this dress, beginners can practice their skills and understand how the European knitting works. This type of knitting is faster and in my opinion is much easier than any other type. In this video I'm also going to show you a lot of basic techniques that we are going to use for knitting. So again, if you're a complete beginner, in this video you will learn how to cast on the stitches, bind on the stitches, make decreases, purl and knit, work in rounds and work flat in rows. This dress can be made either with small or large needles, but if you're a beginner or just starting up, I would recommend to use bigger needles because it makes it easier to see and catch the stitches. You can also use any type of yarn. For example, I was using cotton with sequins for summer, but this dress can be made also with wool and with smaller needles to have a winter wear. Why not? Alright, let's get into the materials. For this dress you will need needles in size 8, 60 cm cord for needles, some stitch markers, about 400 grams of yarn of your choice. I will be using this cotton yarn with sequins, measuring tape, and one crochet hook in any size. Before starting, you should make a small swatch measuring 10 cm by 10 cm. Then count how many stitches you have within those 10 cm. For example, I have about 11 stitches in my swatch. After that, take your hip measurement. My hips are around 89 cm. Now let's make a small calculation. If each stitch is about 1 centimeter wide, then I need to multiply 89 by 1, which gives me 89 stitches to cast on. But let's imagine your stitch is 0.5 centimeter wide. In that case, you multiply your hip measurement by 0.5. For example, for 89 centimeter hips, that would be about 44 stitches. I hope this example makes sense. Now let's cast on our stitches. To do this, first leave a long tail of yarn, about 60 centimeters. Now let's take your left hand, or your right if you're left-handed, and place the yarn in your hand so the long tail is on the bottom side. Make a V shape with your fingers and hold the working yarn in your right hand. Wrap the yarn over your fingers as shown and secure it with the other strand, just like this. Then take your needle. First go under the upper thread, then under the lower thread. Pull through and make a knot like this. Let's repeat. When your first 2 stitches are cast on, hold the yarn with your fingers like this again. The working yarn should be secured over your index finger, and the long tail should lie over your thumb. Repeat the same moves, but this time go under the tail first, then yarn over the working yarn and tighten slightly. Don't tighten too much, otherwise it will be harder to work into the stitches later. Continue casting on the number of stitches we calculated earlier, plus 1 extra. For me, that's 89 stitches plus 1, a total of 90 stitches. Once you have cast on your stitches, let's join the knitting and close it into the round. To do this, take the first casting stitch on the other needle and purl it through the front loop. Don't forget to slip the stitch of the needle. Then take the second stitch from the working needle, pull it up through the first stitch and drop it. This is how we close our knitting into the round. I highly recommend placing a stitch marker at the point where you join your knitting. From here, continue purling all the stitches through the front loops. Using this technique, we are creating the wrong side of the dress, leaving the right side on the back of the needles. Keep working in rounds, moving the stitch marker each time you reach it. Just slip it from one needle to the other. Repeat this step until you reach the desired length up to your armpits. I will make around 50 cm since I want my dress to be mini. I made my 50 cm of the dress and now it covers me right up to the armpits. I stopped knitting right after the stitch marker. Now we need to divide the dress into the front and the back. To do this, take your total number of stitches and split it in half. I had 89 stitches, so that gives me 44 and 45. If you also have an uneven number like me and can divide it equally, just leave the bigger number of stitches for the back. I'm going to take the front part off the needles, which means I will put those 44 stitches onto a support thread. Take a contrast color yarn, thread a tapestry needle and carefully pull the yarn through all the front stitches. Make sure you cast the right number of stitches, then tie a knot to secure them. Next, gently slide the needle out of those stitches. We will come back to the front later after finishing the back. Now, with the stitches that are still on the needles, we are going to knit the back. This time we will work flat, in rows. With the right side facing you, slip the first stitch onto the working needle and knit through the front loops until you reach the very last stitch. Purl that last stitch, bringing the yarn to the front and then turn. On the next row, with the front side facing you, slip the first stitch again and this time purl through the row until the last stitch. Purl that last stitch again with the yarn at the back and then turn. We will keep repeating these rows, slipping the first stitch, working across and finishing the last one purling each time, until the back is fully covered to the desired height. To cover my bag, I made 29 rows. I finished on a knit row, which means the right side is facing me. Now let's bind up the stitches. Slip the first stitch from the left needle to the right, then knit the next stitch with the yarn behind the needles. Pull the first loop over the second and drop it off the needle. Repeat this with every stitch. First knit this stitch, then pull the previous loop over until only one loop remains on the needle. If you finish on a purl row with the wrong side facing you, just do the same thing, but purling instead of knitting. Even though it's a binding off row, I still purl the last stitch instead of knitting it. Finally, cut the yarn and fasten off. When the back is done, let's get back to the front part. The stitches are still on the holding thread, so take your needles and carefully slip all the loops back onto the needle. Make sure you don't skip any. At this point you will probably notice little breaches between the front and the back parts, but don't worry, we will hide them later when we sew the sleeves onto the dress. Now you can finally remove the thread when our stitches are on the needle again. For now, attach the yarn to one of these breeches. I tied a knot to secure mine. You also can tie the knot so you will close this gap, or do it later when sewing the sleeve. Then continue working in rows, just like we did for the back. I decided to start with the wrong side facing me, so I will purl the first row, knit the second, and continue alternating. Sometimes when you slip the loops back onto the needles, you might accidentally miss one. Here's what to do in that case. First, find the missed loop and catch it with a crochet hook. Then locate the horizontal breeches above it and carefully pull each breech through the loop, one by one, until the missed loop sits level with the others. Put a stitch marker on that loop and continue knitting or purling. When you reach the marked stitch, remove the marker and return the stitch to the left needle. Now you can work it as usual. Now continue working on the front, making the same number of rows as you did for the back part. Then bind off the stitches. After you close the stitches, it is time to determine where you want your head opening to be. I highly recommend trying on the dress at this point to see where it should be the best place for opening. I'm putting my stitch markers with 30 or 33 centimeters between each of them. Also make sure you have an equal number of stitches here and here. Make sure to put these two sides, these two pieces, with the right side facing each other. So this is the wrong side, as you can see, and here is the right side. So take your tapestry needle. I don't have mine with me now, so I will be using just a hook, and attach your yarn right here, right to this corner. Start connecting the back and the front parts with your hook or needle, working through both loops of the stitches. Continue sewing until you reach the stitch marker, then fast enough. And this is how our seam looks like on the wrong side and the right side. Now let's start on the sleeves. First measure your armhole and then double that number. Mine is 25 cm, so my sleeve needs to be about 50 cm wide. Using the same method we used at the beginning of the video, calculate how many stitches you need to cast on. For me it's about 50 stitches. We will work the sleeve in rows, making 1 decrease every 4th row starting from the elbow. This way the sleeve will narrow nicely. So cast on the required number of stitches and knit row by row, just like we did for the front and back, until you reach your elbow. For me that's about 36 rows. When you reach the elbow, let's make our first decrease. With the wrong side facing you, work to the middle of the row. Then purl or knit 2 stitches together. Place a stitch marker right after the decrease and continue the row. From this part, decrease every 4th row after that first decrease until you are happy with the sleeve length. I will make mine about 45 cm, which for me is around 72 rows. When the sleeve is ready, bind off the stitches as usual. Now you can see how the upper part of the sleeve is wider than the lower part. The only thing left is to sew the sleeve together. To do this, place the sleeve with the right sides facing each other. Then, using a hook or a tapestry needle, sew it up through the edge loops. After the sleeve is sewn, take your dress with the wrong side facing you. Place the sleeve with the seam down, right at the armpit, and start sewing the sleeve to the dress. At this stage you can also close up the little breeches we left earlier between the front and the back parts of the dress. Secure the yarn when you finish, and then repeat all the steps with the other sleeve. After you sew your dress all together, I highly recommend you to block it before wearing, so the shape is better. And just like that, your dress is done. I really love the result, even though I was pretty skeptical while knitting it, but trust the process. Now you can wear it to a pool party, the beach, or even a club. Just don't forget to put on an underdress or a bodysuit first. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and follow me on Instagram, where I share all the behind the scenes process. See you in the next video!